In this video, I'm replacing the bushings in the swing arm of my T140V Bonneville from the mid-70s. If you've been following the playlist, you'll know it's a T140V. It's a Bonneville that's had mild customisation in America, been re-imported, I've registered it, I want to get it riding. The only thing that's stopping me putting the frame together, until I find something else at the moment, is the bushings in the swing arm, because I'm going to replace all the bearings in the wheels, the head bearings, the bushings in the swing arm. Everything should be pretty much like new when I get this bike going, so I need to get on with it. Now, I did find it a little bit worrying that the supplier sent the parts in a Laurel and Hardy video case. Maybe this is going to turn into an act of comedy. Who knows? But let's have a look at the parts. The rubber bands are to go around the actual gap where the swing arm joins to the frame to stop any dirt and crap and water getting inside, or getting out might be the case. These actually go into the swing arm with the bushing round the outside of them, and the pivot goes through the middle. So the bit that usually wears out are these. I don't know, because this swing arm isn't the original one to the bike that I'm using. And the bushings, as you can see, they have a hole through for grease. However, I don't think that grease nipple goes through in the same place on these ones. And they have a couple of runners, and you can see like it's bearing material copper on the inside of them, and they look steel on the outside. And they should go in easy enough. Let's hope they come out easy enough. Now, there are 4 bushings in here, and as you can see, I've already had a little bit of a play with one, start to bring it out. And these bobbins actually go into the middle. Now, I'm hoping to be able to drive these out using a long drift and a hammer. That one seemed to move easy enough, so let's get on with the other ones. I'm using the drift with a reasonably sharp edge on it, and basically I'm just catching it on the edge of the bush and using a fairly light hammer. I'm just going one side at a time. Now that came out easy enough, so I'm quite happy with that. And to be honest, if it hadn't have been powder coated before I got it on the inside, I may have just used that bush just as it was. What I'll do now, get onto the one on the other side. I think it's going to be harder pushing these ones out, but let's see. I'll do this side first. I can see it's already started to move. I'm going to move up a hammer size. I think that's a £0.5 pound, and I'm just moving up to my £1 pound hammer. And that's the second one out. I've got this bearing down on a piece of wood inside this wheel clamp. Let's just see how that goes. So I'll start with the lighter hammer first, and again you're going in from side to side, so just get the edge of it. And lo and behold, it's coming out fine. That hurt my thumb. And there we go, that's that one out. Just one to do now. And some people had said this was going to be a hard job. It hasn't been for me yet. Oh yeah, we're on the move. I expected that to be a bit harder than it was, and I know some people will say I shouldn't have used that technique for taking them out, but a couple of hammers and a couple of long drifts and I got them out, no problem. I've heard that sometimes people have had to get a saw blade and go inside and cut part way through, obviously not where it's already split, so you get them in two halves and pull them out. I've also heard, and in the manual it does say, that you can get the corner of a cold chisel on the edge of it, dint it in, and then using the dint in to move it and to pull it out. I can't see using a cold chisel to do that is any more easy on the parts than the thing that I did. Anyway, I'm going to look at how I clean this out now. I'm going to give it a good clean with brake cleaner. I might run a small cylinder hose through it just to make sure they're really clean, and then I'm going to try and draw these in. I'm not going to hammer them in, or I'm hoping not to hammer them in anyway. I might shove them in the freezer just to get them a little bit smaller. We'll see. Having given them a light hone with a very, very well worn set of stones on there, don't think I'm going to take a load of stuff out. They actually look very good now. I'll try and show you what they look like, and I'll just make sure all of the debris is taken off them. Give it a couple of cleans through before I've done. Before I put them in, I'm going to use some of the same kind of grease that I'll use on these bearings, some Valvoline lithium grease, and I'll just give a light smear on the inside. This will help them go in, but also it's a bit of anti-corrosion as well on the bare metal that's in there. And I'll put a little bit on the outside of these as well. As usual, you get grease all over yourself and you end up a right mess. Now, they do clamp a little bit, so I'm just gonna shove them just so that they're just square on. As square as I can get them anyway. One on each side. And it doesn't really matter, so I believe, whereabouts the join is. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this Vivor tool. Well, that was pretty sweet. They went in really well. I'm very happy with that, and it put them completely flush. The big advantage of using this is the fact that that washer is against ball bearings, so when you're tightening this, this turns, but the actual washer doesn't. It's just giving clamping. And if you were just doing this with a threaded rod that wasn't as strong as this, and it didn't have that mechanism, the washer would keep wanting to turn as well, so it gets a bit fussier. That works so beautifully. I'm really pleased with how they've gone in. So now I've got the bushings in, I need to put in the new bobbins. Now, I pulled out one of the old ones and you can see it does appear that these are the thing that wears the most. So, you know, there is some truth when I was saying that before, and I hadn't looked at it then. Now, sometimes these will go straight in and sometimes they won't. And in my case, they won't. They're very close to there, and I'm pretty confident if I shove them in the freezer, I'd probably be able to slide them in. However, what you want is a really nice sliding fit when everything's at the same temperature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually try to ream these so that they're a nicer sliding fit with these as cold. And I'm going to use an adjustable reamer. Let's see how that works out. So the first thing I needed to do was find out what size I needed, and I think that what you find is these are about 25mm, and I think that basically they're supposed to be sort of nominally an inch, so 0.98 of an inch. I've bought myself a 23 to 26mm reamer. Let's see how we work out with this. A reamer is intended to finesse a hole, to give it slightly, make it slightly bigger so that you can actually get a really good fit with something else. And this is an adjustable one. And the way that it works is that as you tighten it that way, these move out. And this is between 23 and 26mm. So what I've got to do is fit this into the hole, adjust it till literally it is just touching, and then give it a few turns, clean it up, use some lubricant, get it back out, and then try my new bobbins in. And I might have to do that a few times. This can take quite a time, and you mustn't try and get this to dig in too deep. It's literally only just scraping the surface, and you do need to use a lot of lubricant to make sure it works out well. So what I need to do is I'll put this in, and I need to get it so that it is just literally touching. The more I tighten it this way, the bigger it gets. So using a 19mm spanner, I'll loosen off this one, and then I'll tighten up that one, which pushes these blades up a ramp. Don't want to get too carried away, not quite there yet. So I'll do that until I get it right. So now I've got it where it feels like it just about is rubbing. So what I'm going to do, give it a good squirt with some lubricant, and probably should use oil, but like everything, you're a little bit expedient. I'm going to just edge it up slightly. So literally perhaps a quarter of a turn there, and quarter of a turn there, and I'll make sure it is nice and tight. There we go. And now what I'm going to do, it cuts going that way, and I'm only going to go that way, so we'll just, and I can feel it dragging on it. You may be able to hear it as well. that feels like it's loosened off a bit. Give it a bit more lubricant. Tighten it up a tidgy bit more. Perhaps quarter of a turn. And you can see it's making it a bit harder now. A bit more lubricant. Again, I'm cutting this way and need to go around. I'll try and move it across slightly. More lubricant. I'm going to go for another quarter of a turn. And again. Now I'm sure that a proper engineer would be telling me I'm doing this all wrong. However, I'm pretty confident this is going to work. Oops. What I'll do is slacken it off, take it out and try the bobbin now. Now before I try the bobbin in, I will give it a clean out to try and make sure that any swarf is also taken out. And let's just have a see. Right. That feels like it wants to go in, but I think I need to go a little bit further yet. Oh yeah, it's definitely trying. I think I'm pretty much there, but just take a tidgy bit more out. I found that you tighten it up and then you turn it round until it becomes reasonably smooth. So I've done this a couple of times now, so I'm going to take it out again. And you want to move it backwards and forwards a bit. I'm going to take it out and see how my bobbin's going to fit this time. You can definitely see that it's cutting into the bearing material, so give it another clean and then I'll try the bobbin again. Having given it a good clean through, now just let's see, you need to make sure you get it square on. Oops. And I'm pretty pleased with that. I think that's about as good a fit as I could hope for. Make sure there's plenty of grease. And my bobbin is good to go on that one. Right, let's do the other side. That's the second one done. It's a nice tight sliding fit. Right, I'm going to give it all a clean now. Get the grease nipples in and I'll probably grease it. Take what looks like a scary amount of shavings. I'm sure it looks far more than it actually is. But hey, it worked for me. From the parts manual, the bleed nipples for these are 1/4 inch BSF, British Standard Fine, not UNF. I'll have to find a fine enough spanner to screw that in properly. But that feels like it's starting well. There we go. Lovely. That's new bushes, new bobbins, new grease nipples. I'm going to give it all a really good greasing and that is ready to go back into the bike. Oh god, this is getting exciting now, to be honest. The reamer, I'll put a link in the description, and yeah, you know, I may not have used it. Look in the comments, as well as some people who have got, you know, years of engineering experience, but it definitely made that a really nice sliding fit, so I think I've done quite well with that. So let's get it greased up, put to one side, subscribe, see what happens next.